Call this meeting for the Harrison Township Planning Commission to order at 7:02. Mr. Bloom, could we have roll call, please?
Sure. Member McDougal?
Present.
Member Tominello?
Here.
Member Betcha?
Here.
Member Bloom is here. Member Olgiati?
Here.
Chair Murray is excused.
Excused?
And so Vice Chair Falk?
Here. Okay. I'd like to get a approval of the agenda, either a motion or anyone have any discussion or changes.
I make a motion to approve the amended agenda that we received this evening as written.
Support.
All right, I have a motion to approve the amended agenda. I have support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the minutes or any discussion on those from the meeting on Thursday, May 15th, 2014. There were a couple revisions that were made, like on sheet 2, a couple highlighted revisions that have already been done there. Page 4, one revision.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the revised minutes from the Thursday, May 15th, 2014 meeting of the Planning Commission
Thank you.
as submitted.
Do I
I'll
ha-
support that.
All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor of approving the minutes from May 15th, 2014? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion passes. I'm sorry. Mr. Bloom, could we hear the first case, please?
Sure. The first case tonight is case number 09-14-S, Benvenuto's Restaurant, 39539 Jefferson, Harrison Township, Michigan, zoned B3, and it's for a parking lot expansion.
Thank you, sir. Is the applicant here tonight?
Morning,
evening.
or good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Larry Maslinsky. I'm here representing Benvenuto's Restaurant, and I'm here to make this presentation for a parking lot expansion
Okay.
to the restaurant. I have in front of me comments from your planner and comments from your engineer. If you'd like to go over that review of them first.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. We start with the planner's comments first. He states that in his findings, it is not clear whether the site plan shows a wall on the rear of the property line extended the full length of the parking lot. The wall should be extended to provide proper screening from the residence to the rear of the property. Applicant shall also provide wall details. It's apparent that to the west, that is all zoned residential, and yes, we would be putting a 6-foot concrete wall along that property line. It would be concrete brick facade on both sides of it. There is an existing wall there. I agree, it's not that clear on the drawing, but if you look on the drawing, on the site plan, the lower left-hand corner, where it reads 20-foot vacant alley, there's a small note there that reads wall 3/10 of a foot in, and then if you follow that to the right, to the other existing property corner, it reads wall in or wall on line. And then about 1/3 of the way to the left of that and above, there's a small note reading existing 6-foot concrete wall. That wall continues to the north back to where that note I pointed out to you initially, a 20-foot vacant alley, and it goes to the east and then back to the south to enclose where the dumpster is, the existing dumpster. But at any rate, yes, we do intend to have a 6-foot concrete wall between the residence and the expansion of the parking lot. And I agree, there is no detail at this time, but it would meet the standards of a 6-foot concrete wall with a brick facade on both sides. The second findings from your planner is the site plan meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and your planner makes recommendations for your approval. And then before I move on to the engineer's comments, do you have any questions that you want?
Just to recap, there is an
Sure.
existing wall behind the restaurant and the parking lot,
That's correct.
and then you're going to construct a new wall behind the new portion of the parking lot.
Yes, that would be, I think it's a total of 84 or 80 feet along that property line.
Yeah, about 84 feet, I
Yeah.
think, but, okay, but nowhere on the plans is there any view of the wall, side view?
No, there's no
construction or
detail
anything?
provided.
Okay. Board members, do you have any other, and we're strictly, right now, just taking the planner's comments. Do you have any other comments or observations on the planner's comments or the wall or anything else at the moment? Okay, hearing none, if you want to go to the,
Okay, we'll move on to your engineer's comments. And he states the plan indicates the use of an underground stormwater detention facility with a capacity of 4,500 cubic feet of storage. While the storage volume appears to be reasonable for the site this size, there is no sizing and calculations provided on the plan. Likewise, there is no detail of the plan showing how the storage would be configured. The sizing of the underground detention basin, of course, you know, due to the stormwater requirements in Harrison Township, we have to provide some type of detention basin to contain the stormwater so as not to affect the flow of stormwater for those living downstream of this discharge. And that particular calculation is 0.2 of a foot over the entire surface of the development, and that happens to work out to 4,500 cubic feet. And yes, I do agree, the calculations are not provided on the drawings. However, this typically is an issue that is covered during the engineering review. If the engineer doesn't agree with the calculation, I just summarized to you, and the workings of the hydraulic flow of the stormwater, obviously we will not get past engineering review and never get a building permit. And so it was my presumption that we would deal with those details at that time. I did not want to spend the time of going through those calculations and presenting them to you, should you find that the plan was not compatible with what you're looking for at that time. So, comment number 2, he indicates we are concerned about the elevation of the proposed parking lot in relationship to the existing property to the south. New parking lot is approximately 1 foot higher than the adjacent property, and there is not sufficient room between the proposed curb and the property line to achieve a manageable slope down to the property to the south. The present owners of Benvenuto's Restaurant are also the property owners of these 2 lots to the south. The one is zoned B3, the other one is residential. I do not recall whether it's multiple residential. It may well be because everything to the south on Jefferson, I believe, is multiple residential. What Benvenuto's plans for this property is in the future is not germane to this review, because they could go ahead and sell the property, somebody else could pick it up and rezone it for something else. So we really can't speculate what that would be. However, I agree that the parking lot is higher than the adjacent property, but as we all know, the base flood elevation in Harrison Township is 578.6, and anything meeting the building requirements has to be a foot above that. That would put it at 579.6, which is at or above the top of curb of the proposed parking lot. So presently, yes, there may be a strip of 2 feet in width of property that may or may not shed off onto these 2 lots as far as stormwater is concerned. But for future development, it has to be brought up to present standards. So that was my thinking on that issue. So. And other than that, if there are any particular questions, I'm here to hopefully answer them positively.
Okay, thank you. Members, any comments or questions? Now, on the engineer's comments, it does say both these issues are items that will require additional information from the designer on the possible adjustment of grades for the parking lot. However, we do not feel that either of these items will adversely impact the layout or design of the site plan. Therefore, approval of the site plan is recommended at this time, contingent upon the items outlined above. Should you have any questions, feel free to give them a call. So, I think that from that standpoint, it's to a workable phase. Mr. Maher, you got anything you want to add?
Mr. Chairman, just, on this particular site, it was fairly cut and dry in terms of the design, and certainly the parking was necessary out at this location. I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Myslinski in the past on this, and it appears as though he's worked through pretty much all the items that we had discussed, so, with the clarification of the wall, we certainly have no objections to you taking action on it tonight.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that input. All right, members, any other, any comments, questions, a motion?
I have a comment on just so the members know, on the back property line, when you go out there, there should be no question in terms of depth in the amount of room you have between the existing houses behind it. For it shouldn't that fence or that wall should not impact them whatsoever. I think that there's plenty of room to put that fence up, and it's not going to be a detriment to the houses behind it. I think that lot's pretty cut and dry in terms of what they're trying to do with it. The only question that I have is the 4 maples in the very front off of Jefferson. That's going to be the only screening off of Jefferson, Mr. Myslinski?
That is correct.
Okay.
The tree count meets your tree requirement for the number of parking spaces that are proposed here.
But they definitely can use the parking over there, that's for sure. And the lot looks like it's well suited for that. I don't think it's going to have an impact on anything in the surrounding area, a negative impact, I should say.
Okay. What about lighting for the parking lot?
At this time, we were not proposing lighting. The operations of the restaurant does not operate past, I believe. I was there tonight, and I think I was the last person to leave, and we left there around 6:30. I don't think they have that. I think they're out of there by 8 o'clock at the very latest. If at some point lighting is necessary, it would meet your requirements for the what is it, 1 candle light at the property line, I believe, Mr. Maher?
Right, at .25 at the property line. The and if in fact, our primary objective with regard to lighting, number 1 is safety, but primarily from an overlighting standpoint, so that we don't end up with light shining in off-site users. such as on Jefferson or surrounding properties whereby it might have a negative impact on households. You know, with regard to not having enough lighting, it's technically a liability of the shop owner, or in this case restaurant owner, to ensure that the people are safe when they get out of their cars and can get to the restaurant. If in fact they do decide to put lighting in, they would at a minimum have to come in for a tech review at that time so we can ensure it does meet the lighting standards of the ordinance.
But doesn't, I mean, so we're in the summer months now, and it doesn't get dark until 9:30. In
Right.
the winter months, it gets dark at 4:30, so even if they're only open to 6, that causes, you know, some type of hazard or some type of concern for lighting. So I just throw that out there because that could be a liability.
Certainly you as a commission, if you feel that is some type of an immediate threat, you know, we can use our more general standards in the site plan submission section of the ordinance.
Follow-up question on that. You mentioned the tech team review of that. If they came in for a tech team review, what would be the standard that the tech team would require in the way of some sort of plans describing what's there, or would it be just a letter saying what lights they're gonna put in?
You know, typically, I guess number one, it would depend on what lights they're installing. If it was a rather simple plan, we might accept a little bit less, but typically, if there's gonna be poles installed, we'd want a full photometric ground level illumination plan.
So that's gonna be a cost that the owner would have to put out at that time to have that put together, whereas it almost builds baked into the cake, so to speak, on this project now.
Yeah, there's a potential cost. Typically, if you're gonna buy lights from a particular manufacturer, a supplier, they'll supply the photometric plan as part of that, but it certainly could be an additional cost.
Okay, thank you.
If I might add, presently, there is approved existing lighting on the building. And to answer your question, Mr. McDougall, the additional cost would be the review fee with the tech committee. And Mr. Maher is correct that any photometric plan that is created is typically created by the manufacturer of the light because they want to sell their particular fixture, and it's pretty straightforward.
And with the size of this parking lot, you can light that portion from the building also without additional underground wiring and stuff.
At this juncture, we believe we can, yes.
Okay.
As
Right.
what Mr. Tominello said, I think that lot is big enough where they need, that lighting is a concern in the winter months, I think. I think that, I don't know if there's enough light coming off the building itself, the way it's lit right now, to be sufficient to light that in it. I would be a little bit concerned about that in the winter months. That would be my only concern about that. I think Mr. Tominello made a good point. In the summer months, it's not an issue. I know it's primarily a daytime establishment, they're not open, but in the winter months, I know that they are open for dinner, and I think that might be a concern that you might need to deal with.
All right. Any other comments? Questions?
I have a question more on number 2, on the engineering letter of June 13th, with respect to the elevation. And the concern is that the elevation is approximately a foot higher than the adjoining property to the south, which I've heard is owned by the same owner as the property in question, and that if it's sold, it will, out of necessity, be brought up to at or above the elevation. So that shouldn't be a problem. The question I have is whether we may be dealing with an issue on if the current owner decides down the road to build on that property that is below, the property we're dealing with. And do we have any issues of grandfather and approving it now, and they can then build under the grandfather clause or not? I think this might be a legal issue, but I'm wondering if there's any differences in this elevation as to whether the property is sold versus developed by the current owner.
if I may, by your own ordinances, you cannot build below the base flood elevation. You have to build minimum 1 foot above the base flood elevation.
Right.
As I explained earlier, you can't even get a building permit. And when you consider any structure that went in there, if it were 1 foot above the base flood elevation, and if it was standard residential construction, the grade from the grade to the bottom of the sill plate has to be a minimum of 8 inches. So now you're 1'8" above the base flood elevation. And then your floor construction is typically another foot above that. Now you're 2 feet above, and that would put you at, or 2'8" above, and that would put you 5'8", do my math here. Oh, my pencil's not working. 586, 578.6 plus 2.8 or 2.6 puts you at 581.2. Okay, above existing grade. Okay, that would be the bare minimum.
Okay.
So-
And I guess I would just like to hear if our legal counsel or engineer have any thoughts or different opinions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Mizlinsky is correct in that any structures that are constructed there have to be above base flood elevation. However, that's not necessarily true of parking lots, green belts, other areas that might be on the site. So it depends on how that site developed, what they put there, and, you know, perhaps there could be a parking lot adjacent to this one. It wouldn't have to be above the base flood elevation. So it's not necessarily a given that that property adjacent to the parking lot is going to be raised up to the same elevation as this parking lot is going to be at. The initial concern that we had is that with it being a foot high and a foot or two off the property line, in order to slope it down, you've got essentially a 1-to-1 or a 2-on-1 slope, which isn't really very maintainable. Certainly, you know, it's not mowable in the traditional sense. I suppose you could go out there with a weed whip and cut it down, but it's an area that's just likely to not see the maintenance that it deserves because it's going to be difficult to maintain. That's a concern, and then, you know, creating a future drainage issue to the parcel to the south is a concern. It's convenient, or it's good that it's owned by the same people right now, because, you know, they're not going to have a problem with their own project, but should they sell that parcel off, then we could come into a situation where somebody's buying into a project where they've got a drainage problem. So those were the concerns that we had on that. Now, all that being said, you know, as my letter stated, I think that we probably can work through the grade issue with the engineer as we get into the engineering detail of the project. I'm assuming that the elevation of the parking lot is where it is so that he can get his storm sewer system to drain out.
Okay, if you also examine the topographic survey of this site to the south of the parking lot, you will notice that in the property that is northwest of the existing duplex to the south, that there is a note there, standing water. That is the low place, that's the low spot of the property. Water presently collects there and stands there, and will continue to collect and stand there unless someone brings some fill in or grades that property out. This development of this expansion, this parking lot, has no adverse or positive effect on that existing condition. And this parking lot does not affect it in any way, shape, or form that I perceive. Everything from the property line to the back of curb, yes, has the potential to shed upon that vacant property, but everything to the north of the parking lot is going in the drainage system and not on that property. And if anything, this particular development, by taking these two lots out of the equation of shedding water to that low spot in that corner, is a positive effect to that vacant property.
All right, any additional comments or questions?
So we talked about lighting. I guess my thought is, have we made a determination as a commission on how we feel, or what we feel needs to be done on that site? I don't know if we had some brief conversation, but, I don't know if we made a determination on what we'd like to see or what we think we'd like to see. Just, I guess I'm opening that up to the commissioners.
Pat, doesn't our ordinance specify for parking, that is part of the requirement, that lighting has to be part of the parking lot?
I'll
Relative to
verify
the-
that, but I don't think it requires it. I think it just sets limitations on the lighting. And, you know, again, as a health, safety, welfare issue, and it really sounds like what you're concerned about at this point in time is the safety of people leaving their cars. You know, if you wanted, you could stipulate that there'd be a minimum 1-foot candle in that particular area for safe pedestrian passage, and it's something that Mr. Mislinski could take a look at as part of the conditions and address on a revised plan. And perhaps they will have 1-foot candle with the light on the building. I don't know that.
I know we just actually reviewed a site a few months back, where we were adding additional parking spaces, and there were already existing lights on the building, which were going to illuminate the parking lot, so, I think we agreed that that was enough for the parking lot. So, I mean, it sounds like there's already lights, Mr. Mislinski, on the side of the building facing south, is that correct?
That is correct. There has not, however, for this addition, been a photometric plan developed, and I cannot say whether there was a photometric plan developed when this original development went in. I'm not sure when it went in. I speculated it was probably put in 25 years ago. It's my speculation.
So then the question
But-
is that enough illumination to handle the additional parking space to the south of the building? That's the question.
This is a question for the applicant. So the primary lighting for the entire parking lot is on the building, it's stationary on the building, there's no poles or nothing else in the parking lot?
That is correct.
Okay.
If the commission, or if the commission would like, I would propose that we would propose a photometric plan for the tech committee to review. I would ask for approval of this plan tonight, and contingent upon approval of the tech committee of the photometric plan. As you all know, the photometric plan it has to meet stringent requirements. It can't vary from there. It either meets it or it doesn't. We could, if we can meet it with the existing lighting on the building, we will. If we need to put in a pole to meet it, we will. But I would urge you not to hold us up for 1 month. The reason for that is we suspect that this coming winter is going to be like last winter. And
Hope you're wrong.
Can anybody, Mr. Mayor, maybe the question for you, that seems like that's a dark stretch of Jefferson, am I correct? What type of street lighting is on Jefferson in that area? There's what type of illumination? I don't go down there that often at night.
I don't believe there's any type of public, lighting system over there, so it's primarily just cast-off lighting from surrounding uses.
'Cause it seems to me that it seems like it's a kind of a dark stretch of Jefferson.
Yeah.
That's the only concern that I have, is just from a public safety standpoint. I think the usage of the property is great. But it's just that that's the only thing that I could really feel that I'd be a little bit uncomfortable with.
Well, it does sound like the applicant is willing to address that issue, if the commission wanted to consider that as a condition. It's fairly simple. There's actually free downloads of different illumination programs whereby you can fix the location and the height of the light and the intensity of the light,
Actually, I was just gonna say.
project out the ground level illumination at different points on the site after you do that, so it's fairly simple.
All right, I'd like to take a minute or a few minutes here, and I'd like to see if anyone would like to make a motion to open this for public comment.
Mr. Falk, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve site plan review number 1, Dominios parking lot expansion, case number 09-14-S, with consideration that the 6-foot concrete wall, which is not clearly depicted on the plan, run from the north rear corner to the south rear corner and connecting to the existing wall against the residential property. That the applicant work with the engineer to validate the size and flow of the detention pond. That the applicant work with the engineer to determine what changes in elevation need to be made to assure the grade differences are manageable and functional. And also that the applicant submit a photometric plan to the tech team for review and approval, using a minimum of a 1-foot candle lighting in the lot.
I'll support that.
All right, we have a motion with 4 considerations, and we have support. Before I bring it to the board, do we have any public comment? All right, seeing no, oh. Almost skipped right by you.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I didn't sit in the chair. William Bardell, 17-year resident. Yeah, I'm just, what you can do on the lighting is you could retrofit underneath the parking lot with a pipe and then have an access type, manhole type cover type situation. But what I'd like to ask is, on this parking lot, are we really sure that, is this parking lot really gonna be used for this restaurant? I mean, I know, I've just never seen that parking lot full. I don't know, but I've just never seen that parking lot full. And the other thing, I like the idea of the brick wall across the whole back of that, a nice finished brick wall. And, with, hopefully a foundation underneath the brick wall, with some pea gravel and a decent foundation on that brick wall. But I just wondering, I know there's other restaurants in the area that really need a parking lot, but I'm just wondering if do you really need a parking lot there? Because I've never really seen, I haven't seen the use for it, but I take my hat off to the business owners and, but anyway, I just was wondering if this is really going to be used for this restaurant, this parking lot, because I've never seen that parking lot full. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on that. They're in dire need of parking over there. They definitely need the parking. They run a good establishment over there, and there's nothing else that parking lot would be able to be used for besides the restaurant. There's no existing businesses within the area that are going to benefit from that parking lot, so it's going to definitely be used for them, and they definitely need that parking.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
My observations are basically the same as Ogliati's. The few times I've been over there, a couple, 3 times a year, in the past couple of years, I've always seen that parking lot either full or near full. And I've seen the vacant lot next door with, there's a little bit of gravel access. I've seen people parking on that grass.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
there's need.
All right, board members, any other comments? All right, Mr. Bloom, can we have a roll call, please?
Member Tominelli,
Yes.
Member McDougal,
Yes.
Member Batchor.
Yes.
Member Bloom, yes. Member Ojai.
Yes.
Vice Chair Potter.
Yes. Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Have a good one. All right, carrying on to our next case. Member Bloom, could you read case number 2 for us, please?
Case number 2 is actually under the comments from the planner. It's case number 11-14-TCR, Harbor Club South, 3600 Jefferson. They are proposing 2 horseshoe pits and 2 outdoor grills on the property next to the volleyball court.
Okay, is anyone with the applicant here? Come on up, if you would, please. Hi. What's your name?
My name's Denise Korshneski. I'm the property manager at Harbor Club South.
Okay, give us a quick story on what you got going here, please.
I really just want to put in a couple of horseshoe pits. We have a lot of people we have 67 units left there, so we wanted to use the space where the building was at to provide something for the residents to do. So we're going to do the horseshoe pits, and I've had all of my residents on the 2nd and 3rd floor remove all of their grill of any sort from their balconies. So in exchange for that, I was coming here to see if I could put grills on that lawn for them to use as an occasional thing.
Okay.
They would be permanently installed.
Permanently installed charcoal grills?
Yes, like you see at the parks.
Uh-huh, okay, like at Metro or whatever there, yeah, okay.
I take it you're doing that for safety reasons?
Yes.
All right, and how far away is it from the closest building?
The grass, I believe, is about 30 feet from the closest structure. And we would probably be going like 20 feet in from any concrete if it's the sidewalk or if there is a drive on the side of that piece of property.
Okay.
There's a volleyball court that already exists on that same piece of land.
Is that sand?
Yes.
All right, members, any comments, questions?
What I'm seeing is an email from our engineer showing no engineering concerns with the
Yes.
proposal,
Correct?
and an email from our planner recommending that the site plan requirement be waived and approving the tech change. And unless they have anything they want to update, I am not inclined to go against these recommendations.
Any other comments, or I'd like to entertain a motion?
I'd just make a comment. I did go out to the site and I did walk off the site to get some idea what's going on. I think the dimensions that are provided here are appropriate. Let's say the spacing from the building, there's certainly room for it to be there. I was a little bit, the thing that caused me to go back out, or actually that caused me to take a careful walk of the property was that, and as I looked at the scale, if you will, of the aerial view that we were provided with,
Right.
I thought the scaling on it was quite not accurate, let's say. And that, I thought that the standard of getting something that's going to be part of our permanent record ought to contain a little more accurate location of the improvements on site. I have absolutely no problem. I think it's a great idea. I think both ideas are great ideas. But I
Understood.
think that we as a township, as a planning commission, and as the tech team ought to insist on the standards, on the scaling of where things are located being a little bit more accurately defined. And with that said, I certainly would be pleased to make a motion to approve this request from Harbor Club South case number 11-14-TCR, for 2 horseshoe pits and 2 outdoor grills. Dimension is set forth in the original email that was sent to our secretary.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I
I'll
have
support that.
We have support. Any comments, board members?
Just a comment, I think it's a great idea to try to get any grills off of the decks. I
Uh-huh.
truly support that, the fact that you're trying to do that. I think it'd be a really nice place to play horseshoes too, right in the water right there. I thought that was the best building in the whole complex personally, and I just think it's a very, very good idea.
It's a pretty
Good.
sight. It's better than most parks that you
It
see
is,
right
very,
in
very
all
nice.
honesty.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's definitely an asset to the people that live there right now,
Yeah.
so.
Very good. All right, no other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you. Now,
Thank-
once I do this, am I all set, or do I have to come back so somebody can look at what we did?
I think you have to invite us over for burgers and
Oh.
beer, and then
You know
you're all
what?
set,
That's no
you know, or if it's summertime pina coladas, other than that, we're all good.
Yeah, that was easy.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right, Member Bloom, if you would please read the case number 3 for us.
Sure, case number 3, also under the comments from the planner, Richard Hennigar, Patriot Fireworks Company, Mariners Point Shopping Center, Zone B2. The Planning Commission shall determine whether the proposed activity is consistent with the uses permitted within the zoning district.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Robert Horvath. I am in-house counsel for Patriot Fireworks. I'm also affiliated with the company. I've personally been involved in the fireworks business for a few decades. Richard Hennigar has been involved in the fireworks business, both consumer and display, for almost 40 years. Patriot Fireworks is based in Ann Arbor. We have over 30 locations. We're one of the largest Michigan companies. Our specialty is fireworks stands modified using a cargo container. We have a utility patent on it. We carry over 300 individual products in it. We've never had an issue with this particular type stand in any of the cities over the last 3 years since the act was passed. We're looking to place a stand there, if this commission approves it, until just after the July 4th fireworks season. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. If I talk too much, I get too much detail, but I'll leave it at that and respond to any comments or concerns that you might have about this particular stand.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the, make a motion. Go ahead, Mr. McDougal, did you have a, I was gonna say,
I'd make it in the same form as I made it for the prior
okay,
one.
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to send a message to the Township Board, the clerk, and any other appropriate official in the township that the proposed retail activity of selling fireworks is consistent with the zoning of this parcel, which is what the ordinance requires us to do, and say nothing further.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll support your motion.
Okay, we do have a motion. We have support.
I don't know if we said it was for Patriot.
Two comments I had. One,
Yes.
I go over there all the time, and it looks to me like you're gonna put that trailer 3 parking spots off of the main entrance. And that is like an extremely busy area because of, there's a bus stop across the street, and there's a lot of people that park right there. A lot of people also park right there for the bike trail. And so that area is always congested. People come around that corner, go to McDonald's. I go around there to go to the gym or the Subway. And so it's really a busy area. if you can move that trailer or pod or whatever you call this structure, you know, 10 spots down, I think it's gonna be safer, because people are gonna be parking and they're gonna be walking across a drive basically to get to the facility. And so anything to give a little distance between coming around that corner, because there's a lot of people that just shouldn't be driving that are out there and whipping around that corner. So anything you can do to push that down, you know, any kind of deal, whatever you have to work out with the landlord, I guarantee it would be a lot safer.
Sure. You know, I made a comment to the landlord, Aileen, the owner of this particular complex, and it had to do with people who were parking there, using the bus, and other off-site purposes. And her position was simply that those folks are not allowed to park on the premises unless they're utilizing the business purposes that rent space from her. Notwithstanding that comment, we will go ahead and review it, and we don't have a problem with moving a few spaces in to accommodate flow coming in off the street there. I don't think that's a main issue. We're very concerned with safety, and we will address that.
I'm sorry, go ahead. This picture that you have of the yellow structure,
Yeah.
that's the building as it's going to look on the property, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to me, you said you have a patent pending system. Can you just educate us a little bit, explain to us what exactly you're trying to seek a patent for?
Well, it's a utility patent. Most folks in the United States for decades have used tents. And one of the deficiencies in a tent is that the product either has to be removed from the tent, or you have to have a 24-hour security guard watch the product for security purposes. And with this particular unit, it is a steel container. It has reinforced man doors on two sides, and then it has two double steel doors. Inside the facility, and there's a photograph attached to the package that's been submitted to this commission, there is the appropriate width aisleways, and it also has shelving units. There's an exhaust fan. It's almost like an air conditioning unit in there. There's lighting in there. And it's really the first time anyone's ever used this type of device for sales. And we feel that it's a better situation for consumers. It's not as cluttered. It's very safe from weather issues. It's safe for security purposes. And if you stack it and shelve it right, you can get more various products on it. And it's just, it's been a big hit. And we're waiting on an application right now from DOT. And if that works out, it looks like Michigan might have a pretty good stake in taking it on a national basis.
Thank you.
How is the unit lit?
It's got fluorescent lights on the inside, and then in the outside, it's got a male flange, and we run it to an electric pole there. It has a GFI unit, so it meets the requirements. The state fire marshal will either send a designated personnel out, or the state fire marshal for this particular unit of government will go out and inspect the premises to make sure it comports with not only the Fireworks Act, but also the electrical and the building code.
Okay. And how much does that unit, just out of curiosity, how much does the unit weigh?
The unit TAR, are you referring to the unit without product?
Without product, with shelf, you know, without
Sure.
product.
First of all, the unit is a standard shipping container. It's a 40-foot regular container. That means it's 40 foot long, 8 feet high. It weighs empty approximately 8,500 pounds. They call that TAR weight. We place approximately 2,000 pounds of consumer fireworks on that. Each shipment must be delineated in a bill of landing for DOT purposes. So everything that's on that stand is described in a pull sheet and a bill of lading. It'll have EX numbers, which is explosive numbers, for every single product on there. Every single product has a weight And at the site, they will have an inventory of everything there, how much it weighs, so that if you're of interest, you can calculate not only the weight of the container, but the weight of the consumer fireworks that are on the premises.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing no further, take a vote on this. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Good luck. Be safe.
Yes, we will. We're very concerned, and we would invite you to stop by and see it. We try to do a very good job, and we have been doing a good job.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Thank you for your time, folks. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bloom, item number 4, please.
Yes, number 4, the last one under the comments from the planner, Gasper Rosalino, 35442 Jefferson, Lake Point Square Shopping Plaza, Zone B3. The planning commission shall determine whether the proposed activity is consistent with the uses permitted within the zoning district.
Thank you, sir. The applicant here, come on up. Good evening.
Bill Rosalino, resident, 7 years, and this will be our 30th year here in the same location, and just like usual, I guess.
That makes it easy. Hey,
I mean, it's the same thing every year.
the
So.
ladies from the beauty salon don't complain about you taking up their parking spots or nothing?
No, because she goes there all the time.
Yeah. Do they know who you are? Yeah. All right. Well, I know that they park out there and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so,
No, there's no problem there at all.
yeah.
A nail place, and nothing, pet. In fact, Hungry Howie's like us there too, so. And we create more business for them. That's what they tell me every year. It's like, they can't wait for us to get there because their business goes up like 35, 40%.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh, okay. So same deal, same amount of, same tent space, all that stuff, eh?
Yes,
Okay.
we haven't changed anything, except just get older.
Yeah, man. All right, board members, questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? All right, how about a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the same motion. I'll make a motion to send a message to the township board, the clerk, and any other appropriate officials of the township that the proposed retail activity of selling fireworks is consistent with the zoning of this parcel, and say nothing more.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion, support. Any comments? Just out of curiosity, how much product do you anticipate that you'll have there at any given time?
I would say somewhere around 500 to 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And then we take it off the premises every day, so
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
we don't leave it on there.
okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, put up for a vote here, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, please
Okay,
be
thank-
safe. All right,
Thank you very much.
good luck. All right. Comments from the floor? Do we have any comments from the floor? All right, how about additional comments from the planner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can approach the commission and hand out, there's been a lot of discussion back and forth with myself and the building inspector regarding a few different issues that, quite frankly, I don't deal with on a day-to-day issue or a day-to-day basis. And that we should probably try to take a look at as part of our zoning ordinance adoption. They're fairly simple, it's just a matter of clarification, and I think over the next few days, we'll try to set up our last workshop for the zoning ordinance, so we can set a public hearing, get that adopted. As part of that, I'm hoping that we can take care of swimming pools and have a section in the ordinance that's very clear for the residents. You know, that says, here's what you need to do for a swimming pool. The second issue is with regard to more of a general nature as to setbacks, yard areas, corner lots, waterfront lots, some contradictory language that probably started in the 70s and slowly got amended as we did things, and quite frankly needs to have just one section dealing with all of the yard requirements, setback requirements, and lot requirements. So very simple for someone to take a look at and get a good understanding. I've got a corner lot, here's what my setbacks are. I have a waterfront lot, here's what my setbacks are. So there's no misunderstanding as to expectations, whether you be on the development side, residential side, or the township side, quite frankly. So I wanted to have that done for you tonight. It was so close to being done, but I want to proofread that. I'll email that out to you. Hopefully all of you can take a look at that prior to our workshop, and we can get those. Again, not really intending to change anything, just to isolate it in one section of the ordinance so that it's very clear. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so one would be this additional, the info here on swimming pools and spas, hot tubs, whatever they're called. That would
Right.
be another section in the zoning ordinance?
We would look at that as a separate article, yes, so
Okay.
that really stands out as here's the requirements. You don't have to bounce from section to section to determine what you need to do for a swimming pool.
Okay. And then the other item, which we have talked about a few times in the past, the setbacks and stuff. And based off of tonight's meeting and conversations, I'd like to be able to touch base briefly on the fireworks stuff and get more input. You know, if they're gonna tie our hands like this, don't come before us. In my opinion, it's just a formality that we don't need, if that's all it's gonna be. If we don't have any authority, any say-so, it's almost, in my opinion, pointless to come before us. So I think that we can talk about that at the next workshop. So Sabrina, would you please put together an email with the swimming pool handout that we got from Mr. Maher, and with the new setback, and then also to part of that agenda would be to talk about the fireworks. And if you can kind of choose a couple of dates that suit my schedule perfectly and send that out and see if the rest of these people can suit that, I'd appreciate it.
And actually, Mr. Falk, it would actually be more than fireworks. Actually, it's any kind of temporary sales structure or structure, selling any kind of goods, I think is the way we need to approach it.
Okay.
And there has been a number, and I'm sure that our attorney will fill us in on that, but there have been a number of different opinions and so forth regarding basically not specifying that this applies only to fireworks vendors, but rather here's our vending ordinance, here's the requirement for all vendors with regard to tent locations and so forth. And you know, how far you take that Attorney General opinion, I think, is something, you know, that we'll have to hear our experts tell us about in this matter.
All right, any feedback like that, we would appreciate for the workshop if possible.
Mr.
McDougal?
Chairman,
I was
I just want to comment on that. And right now, all of your concerns really do fall under the Code of Ordinances, which is regulatory in nature. And really, like you said, the Planning Commission's hands are tied in the sense that not only do the ordinances of the township put it into regulatory, so the Planning Commission's out of the picture, the state statute, you know, limits the municipality from regulating the storage of fireworks, but it doesn't mean that we can't tweak our regulatory ordinances for, you know, temporary structures for, you know, this, under our general, you know, solicitation and,
Right.
sales ordinance.
Right, and where maybe currently our
I mean, we could
ordinance.
then, when we modify the regulatory ordinance, I mean, if it's something at the township level that, you know, between the planning commission board decide, you know, we can take it out of the zoning ordinance that it just doesn't even come before the planning commission.
Mr. Philip?
Yes.
I'd just make a comment. I'd like to have the meeting, particularly in regard to the fireworks thing. I'd like to have it next week, my personal thing, but I gotta ask a question out of courtesy. I gotta say, and just ask the question for the planner and for council. Is it what's a reasonable time frame for these changes and these proposals to come for us to take a look at on a workshop basis to make a recommendation to the township board? And maybe before we get a meeting set up with Sabrina, maybe the two of you can talk about, say what it takes, figure out what it takes time-wise, what's reasonable for you.
Right,
and then
but I
come
just
up
keep
with a
wanting to stress so
idea.
that it's a regulatory ordinance.
Understood.
So that you might not even have to come.
We've input on that kind of thing before, if my
True,
recollection
but
is
I mean,
correct.
we would have to come up with a time frame to draft a new ordinance.
Yeah.
And then if the, you know, the board would, you know, have the planning commission review it, and then
Yeah.
the board would ultimately decide on
Yeah,
its passage.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll communicate and
Yeah.
then, sure that,
What's reasonable, practical, pragmatic, et cetera.
right.
Well, he's asking like a day, a couple days. He was throwing out that if you could do it in 5 days and we could do something in a week was his point. So I just wanted to make sure that that was understood.
No, no,
also.
I
was being
Okay.
facetious.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
no,
You didn't see
I
the
thought
big
you
grin
were
on my
being-
face
Oh,
for it
I
then.
thought you were being
Okay.
serious. All right.
No, I had a big grin on my face. Leave
All right. Okay, any comments from the planning commissioners? Okay, at the table over there, thank you very much. Commissioners, thank you. Meeting adjourned, 8:04.
Huh?
We already did comments
Oh,
from the
we're
floor.
done with the
No
comments?
comments from the floor, yep. Meeting adjourned, oh, do I have to take a motion? Yeah, I can have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Support. All in favor? All right, adjourned at 8:04.